How you doing, Taylor?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. You're actually the first film editor that I've ever spoken to, so it's great to have you on, and I have a few questions to ask.
Awesome.
Um,
Happy to be the first.
First and foremost, congratulations on working on such a huge project with him. What was that process like working on something of this magnitude?
I mean, I had to kind of pinch myself every day. I'm not going to lie. It was my first studio feature. So I put a lot of pressure on myself. But, once the work got started, it kind of felt like business as usual. I'm used to kind of working on projects at a large scale and getting a front row seat to kind of what that looks like, how the sausage gets made, and it's on such a big budget with just my assistant history. And so
Hmm.
I think once I got past the nerves, I kind of treated it as business as usual and just wanted to cut for story and audience.
Now, as an editor, you're actually one of the last storytellers before the film reaches the audience. What do you feel like the biggest responsibility is in shaping him into an experience that resonates both as a sports drama and a supernatural horror?
I mean, balance, honestly, at the end of the day, it's like every decision you make has to carefully consider the entire film. And we're constantly, adding new effects and sound design and music. And every time we do, it kind of shifts the balance of the whole a little bit. And so my job is really, like, I think an important job is really to keep that in mind and how the whole film shifts because of these changes throughout the entire process. Every time we change something, we ask ourselves, how does this change the outcome, the character arc, the narrative, like how are we, affecting some of the most important facets of story with these changes. And that's probably the biggest, I think, influence I have before it hits the screen.
Now, as far as when you are, cutting and editing, the editing process, how do you know when to hold for certain shots and when to do, certain cuts to make things happen fast, or maybe a jump cut or something like that?
It's twofold. It's first is just trying to figure out emotionally what we need from that moment or that scene. And if we're looking for a more affecting moment or something a little bit more serious, you tend to hold a little bit longer just to, just so the audience can receive what the actor is giving. And then
Right.
there is basically momentum at the end of it. You're kind of feeling out like the momentum of the scene, if it requires you to move on quickly to the next moment, like how it just feels emotionally and rhythmically. And then
Mhm.
another huge one is just the audience's attention. Like if we're, I don't know, in act two at this moment of the film, can we afford to sit in this space, or is the audience kind of tired? Do they need us to speed up and get through it? Like how much attention do we want to sacrifice in this moment? So we're
Right.
constantly kind of weighing those things at pretty much every decision we make, considers like where the audience is and then how much emotion or information we're supposed to glean at that any given moment.
Do you guys receive notes in advance as to this is how I visualize this scene happening, or are you giving kind of free reign to put it together the way you think it should be done?
Well, it starts with free reign. We start with the
Okay.
director's, well, we start with an assembly in the editor's cut, which is
Uh,
presented to the director. And then the
mhm.
director and I will start crafting his cut. And from that point on, it's kind of a series of feedback from the
Okay.
studio and from producers. And I feel like that's when the movie really takes its shape. We'll do a pass, they'll give us notes, like sometimes specific, sometimes general, and we'll apply it and then and ship it back. And so we have this, great back and forth, which is kind of chipping away at this mold to create,
Uh,
a new sculpture basically at the end of it. And it's pretty seamless and can be fun because we're always been trying new things and new ideas to take care of some of these notes.
what editorial techniques do you use to blur the lines between what feels real and what feels out or otherworldly.
I mean, sound is a big one, and we
Yeah.
rely on sound, especially because it's extremely visceral,
Uh,
to play with, yeah, to play with presence and surrealness and versus groundedness. I mean, Paul Shu, our sound designer and mixer, did some really cool stuff on the
yeah.
stage. And there's like this scene where Cam is, I think it's the second drill, and Cam like has this big impact
Yes.
with one of his teammates. But beforehand, Paul has us, he wants to put us like in his helmet and like try to capture the chaos around Cam. And he wants the audience to feel as discombobulated really as Cam is. So we did this really cool panning like in a 5-1 scenario of just players going by this side, that side, all around, just to make us feel as kind of tense and confused and scared as Cam was.
Yeah.
So, I mean, kind of relying on really cool devices like that are just some ways in which we can play with reality.
About how long did it take for you guys to go through all of the tape, all of the footage, and begin to put this together into something that felt like, first cut, second cut, and so on and so forth, till you got to the final cut?
I think what the one of the benefits of having an editor on is that one, you get like an objective perspective, like a fully objective, not on set. Two, you get someone to assemble everything while it's being shot. So they're shooting day one or day two, I'm cutting day one's material. They're shooting day three, I'm cutting
Uh,
day two's material. So I'm like assembling it as they go. And by the time they finish, I probably have a week or two on my own to just make sure everything's cohesive and polished and presentable. And by the time they finish, they at least have something like to start with, an assembly to start with. And that from then we kind of figure out what we need to work on, what we need to prioritize, what is working really well, what we can lean into. And then it just, yeah, we kind of hone and finesse from there. So at least so,
yeah.
they start off with like a palette, like a good chunk of clay to start to chip away at.
Well, Taylor, thank you so much for your time and answering my questions. I truly appreciate it. And congratulations again on the success of Him. I know it's going to
Thank
be a huge
you.
movie.
Thank
Yeah.
you so much. I appreciate it.